All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the July 6th, 2021 Redevelopment Commission. Before we get into the roll call, I just want to let everyone know that the governor did extend electronic commission meetings. That is why we are virtual. We were set to be in person for this round today, but because of that, we opted to go Zoom again. Better safe than not. So I appreciate everyone who was able to make the call for that purpose. So with that being said, let's go ahead and go into roll call.
Cindy Canarney's here.
Deborah Meyerson's here.
David Walter is here.
Nick Kappas is here. I think we'll just keep going forward. I'm sure Deb will jump on when she can. Let's go to, all right, so that's commission. Let's go to, offices, committee, officers.
So Larry Allen Legal.
Thank you.
John Zodi, hand.
Christina Finley, hand.
Brent Pierce is here from hand.
Hey, Brent. Okay, I think that is everyone for roll call. So we're moving on to the reading of the minutes. So we have the June 7th, 2021, and executive session summary for June 7th, 2021. Are there any edits or comments, I should say, on those minutes? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Deb Hutton for roll call, and I will motion that we accept the minutes as written.
This is David Walter. I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's go to roll call.
Cindy Canarney, yes.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kappas, yes. So the minutes are approved unanimously. Moving on to our third item, which is the examination of claim registers for June 11th, 2021 for $640,407 and June 25th, 2021 for $104,556. Any comments or questions about the claim those two claim registers? If not, then I'll entertain a motion.
Cindy Canarney makes a motion that we accept the claim registers from June 11th, 2021 and June 25th, 2021.
This is David Walter. I'll second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Let's go to roll call.
Cindy Canarney, yes.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kappas, yes. So both claim registers have been approved unanimously. Moving to our fourth item on today's agenda, examination of payroll registers for June 4th and July 2nd. Any comments or questions related to the two payroll registers? And if not, I'll entertain a motion for that too.
Deborah Meyerson, I'll entertain a motion or present a motion for the payroll registers for June 4th and July 2nd, 2021.
Deb Hutton, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's go to roll call.
Cindy Canarney, yes.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
And Nick Kappas, yes. So that is a unanimous approval for the payroll registers for June 4th and July 2nd. Now on to report of officers and committees. Director Zodi, what do you have for us today?
Thank you, Mr. President. Quick update on the staff front. I want to let everybody know Norm Mosier, one of our neighborhood compliance officers, retired last week after about 14 years with the department. So we're thankful to Norm for his service. We have his position posted. That closes tomorrow, so we should have interviews scheduled here before too long. Also, we've hired a historic preservation program manager. Her name is Gloria Cullum. She will be joining us next Monday as her start date. So she's got a degree and experience in historic architecture and historic preservation in her previous life. And so we're looking forward to having Gloria on staff here in the department starting next week. And I want to thank Brent Pierce and some of our HPC commissioners and planning staff for being involved in that process and leading that. So last thing is just in a couple of weeks, the July 19th meeting, we should have some additional funding recommendations to you for COVID-19 community development block grant dollars that we are awarding this summer from the department. So really quick timeline for that. And so just wanted to give you a heads up there that we still have some COVID money to release from the department via HUD. So look forward to talking to you more about that in the coming weeks. So that concludes my report.
Excellent. We look forward to that money as well to see where that can help our community. So on to legal, Larry.
Yeah, one certain quick thing is that at the end of the day on Friday, Real America came to us for permission from the Redevelopment Commission to apply for construction permits. As you're aware, that part of the purchase agreement for that property for the retreat at Switchyard, that affordable housing, we still own it. We haven't done closing because as a condition of closing is governmental approvals. And so just to add, it'll have to be by vote of the commission, but to add on to new business, I would like you to consider a motion just to grant that approval. They sent it to us in the form of an affidavit that needs to be touched up, but essentially it's going to be approval from the redevelopment for Real America themselves to apply for governmental approvals for construction on that property. It's pretty straightforward. We usually grant this in a letter form or email. So I would like to tack that on to the new business today following the consideration of the resolutions that are currently on.
So wait, so you're asking to add that to new business, right? So we're saying, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we need to do
a second or roll call?
Correct. All right. So entertain a motion to add the agenda item as Larry just described.
This is David Walter. I'd like to make a motion that we add on to new business consideration of what was it, America?
Real America.
Yeah.
For Real America to seek
For Real
construction
America.
permits, yeah.
For the building permits, correct.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and go to roll call.
Cindy Canarney, yes.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kappas, yes. So we will add that. It's not a resolution, but it will be our fourth new business item for today.
Thank you.
Actually, Larry, I do have one question for you. Do we need to talk about Fire Station 1 moving into our facility or one of our buildings in this, or no?
We certainly can. I mean, I'm happy to provide that update. So as you all know, and we reached out to the RDC, the RDC owns College Square, and as a function of the Fire Station 1, the fire headquarters becoming uninhabitable as a result of the Kirkwood flood, the redevelopment commissioners have been gracious enough to allow the fire department administration and some of the fire department themselves, along with their trucks, to be housed at College Square. In the meantime, we did have, thankfully, the open space to do that. I believe also there may be some police administration officials who were in the basement of the old City Hall, which is the police department headquarters, also moving into the same space to be able to use that. Now, of course, as part of that, we may have to bring some right of entry to you all. I know there's been some discussions of possibly housing some vehicles there on the site and where it's appropriate for them to be parked. We're still working out those details. And as soon as we get them, we'll bring you rights of entry and the appropriate documents to grant permission. But in the meantime, we have allowed Bloomington Fire Department and City of Bloomington Police Department staff to use some of that College Square office space.
Okay. All right. That's perfect. I appreciate that update because I just wanted that
Thanks
to
for the
be out in the open. So for visibility. And I do know there was a little blurb in the paper about it, but just from a commissioner standpoint, I figured there had to be some kind of right of entry aspect to it. So we look forward to seeing those documents. Treasurer's report.
There's no treasurer's report this evening. Jeff Underwood is out on vacation, thankfully, for him, because he always needs a vacation. We work that man very hard. But I'm happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have.
I don't think anyone has any questions, so we'll move on to business development updates. I didn't see Alex on this. Is he on?
He's also absent today.
Okay.
But again, if there are any questions, I can make a half-hearted attempt at covering for Alex today.
Well, we appreciate a half heart and no heart at all. So with that being said, that will conclude our fifth item of report of officers and committees. Thank you, Larry and John for both of those. So moving on to new business today, we're going to start off with resolution 21-36, approval of funding for city lawn to mow the trades districts.
So I'm so glad you're all hearing my voice ad nauseum today. I'll be out for the next meeting, so you can all be thankful that you won't have to listen to me for the next meeting at least. This is resolution 2136, the funding for city lawn. So at the end of last year, we had approved kind of a funding addendum to the contract, which also called for a renewal of the city lawn to mow the trades district property for 2021 as well. Just to remove some of the doubt, because there were some questions internally about whether the funding carried over in the addenda amount from the end of 2020 or if it was the original contract amount. So to clean that up and to be perfectly explicit for the RDC's purposes, because as we were going through the files, I didn't want any ambiguity. This is essentially just allowing for the funding amount that was in that contract. So the contract originally was signed in 2018. It gave us the options to extend it by 1-year periods through 2021. So this will be the last extension year. We chose that option to extend it, and this is just saying that the amount that they're allowed to not to exceed for 2021 is the original contract amount for each year, which is $7,000, and it will be paid out of the maintenance fund account or the 444 account from the RDC. And just for everybody's edification, we also attached a map here just showing, these are the grassy areas in which they have a responsibility for mowing. Obviously, if any of these areas come under construction, or for some reason are sold or amended, we change the map. There's also a street that's missing from the original map of the contract because it wasn't totally finished at the time we did this for the contract. But they obviously don't mow the street or the sidewalk. But
do they? Thank you for that, Larry. Does City Lawn? That's her name. Yep. Do they? If we were to sell portions of this, do we renegotiate the contract for pricing, or is it just a flat 7 and then we renegotiate for the next year?
So the actual price per mow is $40 per person per hour. The not to exceed amount is $7,000. So okay. We would talk to them immediately and have them remove that portion from the area that they mow, and so they wouldn't invoice us for that. But next year, we will have to follow the city's procurement procedures. We'll go out, solicit bids for a new provider, and if they're the lowest bid again, then they'll be awarded. It'll be brought to you for approval, of course. But as an extension of this particular contract, it's up to the $7,000 amount. It doesn't mean they're guaranteed $7,000.
Have we been happy with their work?
Yeah, we've been fairly happy with their work. There have been they mow other properties for us, and so there's been some communication hiccups that we're certainly trying to smooth out. But as far as their work in the trades district, it's been good.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Like Commissioner Hutton was trying to.
Thanks. So our purview with this contract is just mowing the Trays District. It's not for the other city properties. Those are different contracts with City Lawn?
That's correct. So there are certain departments that manage, whether it be city property or, Hand has some property that they're responsible for, that they have a separate departmental contract with City Lawn for. All other city-owned properties, that's done through the Board of Public Works because they're the ones that manage city property specifically.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any more questions from commissioners? If not, go to the public. Any comments? Not questions. Any comments from the public? Not seeing any. So going back, I would, if there's no additional questions or comments by commissioners, I'll entertain a motion for resolution 21-36.
This is David Walter. I move adoption of resolution 21-36. And every time I drive by there, it looks like the grass is cut.
That's good. Doing their job.
30 seconds.
All right, we got a motion in a second. Let's go ahead and go to roll call.
Cindy Canardi, yes.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
And Nick Kappas, yes. Resolution 21-36 unanimously approved. All right, moving on to our second item of new business, resolution 21-37. Approval of funding for an environmental improvement for the Dimension Mill. Larry.
This is me again. You may all remember that we discussed the radon mitigation system going in at the Dimension Mill. We were finally able to get a quote for that. We had some issues in the exploratory process of how to install the system, specifically where we could actually vent out the fan, the piping system for the fan. And it turned out that the original design was to kind of circumvent the room altogether and just go straight out from the basement so that we could avoid certain issues, but that ended up not working just because of where the foundation was and where the ramp, actually specifically accessibility ramp into the building was. So we had to redesign this to go through the roof, which necessitated us having a little bit more expense and then also getting historic preservation approval to go through the surface of the roof. So we obtained historic preservation approval for us to go through the roof as long as we pledge to paint the PVC pipe black that pierced the roof. The total cost for this mitigation system came out above the approved amount in the last resolution. So it was $10,491.05, which we said we would bring back to you all for explicit approval if it was over that amount. This again is to alleviate, there was a kind of a noxious smell that was building up in one of the offices, and we believe that was coming from under the slab, and that this radon mitigation system would help that. We are scheduled, as far as I know, to make sure that there's also testing afterwards, obviously, to make sure we're bringing down the radon amounts. There was trace radon amounts that didn't meet EPA standards for having a mitigation system, but it's good to just go ahead and mitigate that amount. But we also believed it would take care of this odor. So we will be following up as this work is completed with you all to talk about the efficacy of it and to make sure that it worked. But this is for the explicit approval of that, the installation of that system.
Commissioners, any questions? All right. Seeing none, I will go to the public. Public has any comments about resolution 21-37? Not seeing any. Back to the commission. I'll entertain a motion for resolution 21-37.
This is Deborah Hutton. I move to approve resolution number 2137 as written.
This is Deborah Meyerson. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and go to roll call.
Cindy Canardi, yes.
Deborah Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
McCapus, yes. Resolution 21-37 is approved unanimously. I think this is a great step for this, for the dementia mill, getting that radon out of there. You know, really important. So I'm glad we're doing it. All right, moving on to our third item, Resolution 21-38, which is the addendum to lease agreement with Baird for space at College Square. Larry, you have the floor.
How did you know?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a lucky guess.
Mm-hmm. Lucky guess.
This is so Baird, which is formerly Hilliard Lyons, leases space. This is one of the leases that REC assumed when it purchased the College Square property on South College Avenue. They had signed a lease addendum in 2018 that allowed for their lease extension to go through 2023. They have been since then on the hunt for new space for their property, as the goal for College Square eventually was to be used for the new convention center site, as you've all been part of those discussions. This addenda essentially covers the ability to, with 60 days prior written notice, to terminate the lease addendum of Baird to get out of the lease if they need to move, or if for some reason the building is going to be redeveloped as the convention center within that time frame. We'd be able to give notice and terminate the lease. And so this addendum covers that. That's it. It also covers, I guess I should mention, sorry, I apologize. It covers the amounts that they would have to pay and the proration of all fees and rents that would be paid through the termination of the lease. So.
Any questions? I think Deborah, you got one?
Just curious.
No,
I'm sorry.
No.
Two Deborahs with questions.
Nothing's today.
I just was curious how this, the use of the space is shared with the new tenants of the temporary police and fire in the space.
Yeah, Baird has its own demarcated space. The place where the fire department and the police department are in the space that was formerly occupied by Bunger Robertson. And so as you go into the building, they're kind of at the back of the first floor and part of the second floor that's shared with Indiana Legal Services. They had about 10,000 square feet, Bunger and Robertson did, as part of that building. So that's where fire and police are. They have their own separate building, a part of the building that's all locked and secured and is separate from these tenants. So ideally, both the presence of the fire department and the police department don't disturb our tenants to the extent possible, and vice versa.
Thank you.
And so my question is the purpose of this kind of resolution to both give notice to the tenant that this kind of thing is on its way and you will get 60 days notice, and here's what you're looking at for fees and proration, all that sort of stuff, as well as to protect both the tenant and the city as landlord, sort of being transparent with a coming action that's likely to be coming, and you're sort of predating or pre-talking out the deal, the separation deal?
So this one's actually mutual. So this allows Baird also to provide notice and get out of the lease. So if they find a property that's more suited to them, we've of course been in communication with the tenants about the plans for the building, yeah, and what's been happening. And that was part of also the assumption of the lease. Alex Crowley, and before him, Mick Renison. So Alex Crowley and the deputy mayor have coordination meetings with the tenants periodically just to meet, check in, see how things are going, talk about where we are with our current status of plans, just so everybody's on the same page. We don't want anybody caught by surprise here. We try to work with the tenants to the best of our ability, just to make sure that they're all in the know. This is literally to cover the legal aspect of moving out and terminating that addenda that they signed, the extension period that they signed for 5 years.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
With that, I don't see any other questions or comments from the commissioners. Not seeing any. Go to the public. Public have any comment on resolution 21-38? I don't see one. So let's go ahead. I don't know why it mutes me. We're back to the commission. I will entertain a motion for resolution 21-38.
I make a motion that we approve resolution 21-38.
Deb Hutton, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and go to a roll call.
Cindy Canardi, yes.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
And Kappas, yes. Resolution 21-28 approved unanimously. On to our fourth item of business today, which is Real America. Larry, I think you're the lucky winner on that one again.
So, just briefly, so this is, as President Kappas is intimately familiar with on his time on the Plan Commission, anytime governmental approvals are sought where the landowner is separate from the petitioner for those approvals, it requires the landowner's approval, the ordinary course of business. What we'd be asking for here is a motion to give permission for Real America to apply for those permits and governmental approvals required for the redevelopment of the property in accordance with the mixed income and mixed use housing development that they've proposed. I see Jeff Ryan's on the call. We'll talk to them a little bit about the form of this. It might be the affidavit that we'll just tweak a couple of things to make sure that that's right and give permission for President Nick Kappas to sign it on behalf of the RDC.
Question, Larry, could you just, for us for this meeting, just because we can't see anything, is just tell us the delineation of that property that Real America wants to work on?
Yeah, it's 1730 South Walnut Street. So it's the two parcels that made up, as Alex Crowley is so fond of saying, the former Night Moves bar was located there, immediately adjacent to the entrance of Switchyard Park. It's right across the parking lot and an alleyway from the Meineke Center right off of Walnut Street there. So there are two parcels there that Real America is proposing to build their development on, and that received tax abatement from that was endorsed by you all and approved by City Council and the Economic Development Commission, but also their LIHTC credits from the state of Indiana. And so now they're in the nitty gritty part of beginning the construction and beginning approvals for design. And Jeff, feel free to correct me if I'm misstating anything from your perspective, but as part of those next step governmental approvals, they just need our permission basically to act on behalf of the landowner, and that'll get them into these conditions precedent to closing. And then once they have their approvals, we'll be ready to close and get this exciting development underway.
I think you covered it perfectly.
Okay. So with that, is there any public comment concerning this item? Not seeing any. We'll bring this back to the commission. So we will be voting, I'll be entertaining a motion for our ability for me to sign essentially a document that says, yes, you can go ahead and go for these grants. So,
exactly right. And we'll enter that document as part of the minutes of the next meeting. So I don't want you to think that this will be totally blind from the record. Whatever the final form of that will be, we'll attach them to the minutes of this meeting, and you'll see it at your next meeting.
Hey, Larry, is there more language that needs to go into the motion? Because
right.
It's not necessarily grants, it's also government approvals and permits, et cetera.
Since we're not granting those approvals, no. I mean, this is really just permission for them to file those applications.
Okay.
Typically, for our plan commission, that even typically gets done by an email, for instance. So it's not always a terribly formal thing. Jeff and his team put together an affidavit, which is certainly fine. We can work with that and make some tweaks to it so that it works for our purposes. There's no other magic words though to this, other than you're just giving your permission that you have entered a purchase agreement with these are the entity that you're endorsing. It's not a usurper who's trying to do this without your knowledge or permission.
Can I interject for just a moment? So the affidavit that we're asking for is just to apply for permits and for the Plan Commission. We're not applying for grants right now. This is for local approval of the building design, the site plan. That's the step we're at right now.
Jeff, when are you getting on the schedule for Plan Commission right now? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yes, we're shooting for the August 9th meeting. Applications were due today. The planning staff was very helpful, and they said as long as I get the affidavit to them shortly, then we'll stay on track for that.
Okay. Good. Does that help, Cindy?
Yeah, that's fine. And I'm fine to make a motion to that effect, Nick, allowing you to sign on behalf of the RDC.
And Deb Hutton will second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and go to roll call.
Cindy Canarney, yes.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kappas, yes. And so that last new business item passed unanimously. And that moves us into item 7, which is business general discussion. So is there anything for the good of the order today? I think we already covered what we need to cover in this. Deborah, do you have something?
I was just wondering, we had circulated previously the economic area plans that are the underlying documents to inform the TIF district, consolidated and otherwise, and there was an indication that with the new UDO that those might require some revision. And I just was interested in any further information that would clarify what the appropriate level of review and consideration is for that by the RDC.
Yeah, so if we need to make an addendum to that plan, we basically have to follow the same procedures as when we pass the plan, which would mean that you all would have to approve those changes via resolution. Those would then go to the Plan Commission for consideration and approval, and then get final approval from the City Council if those are the steps we need to take. And certainly, as I mentioned, Deborah had asked a question about that plan and circulated to the commissioners, but that's something we're looking into because the UDO was a fairly significant overhaul. And so we just want to make sure that while we always follow it's the same spirit of development and the types of things, because it's the integrity of where these developments have happened hasn't really changed, but what we call them, and certainly the zoning districts have changed. So that's something we're looking into for that official amendment. And then we'll have to coordinate schedules, obviously, between those 3 entities, which is no mean feat. Just to make sure that there's an orderly passage for that. But certainly that's something we'll keep you guys updated on, and you'll definitely be aware if that's coming down the pike.
Thank you.
I think also, Larry, it'd be good for anyone on the call to know that we are updating our website, if you will, on the Bloomington commissions, correct? To provide some of the more details other than just that one report, correct? We're going to be putting prior, maybe not. What's it called? The plans that we created.
You requested the economic development plan to be added to the website.
Yes,
and so
thank you.
that's something to the website. That's on my to-do list to get with Christina Finley, who usually is our website extraordinaire. She does a great job of adding everything, so we'll add that to it in the form of the resolution, no different than you all saw that was passed. And essentially, just so everybody on the call kind of has a sense of what we're talking about, is informing the economic development areas, which make up the consolidated TIF and the Prow Road TIF, as we call it, the Kinzer TIF. Those have to be approved via what's called an economic development plan, which essentially lists the metes and bounds of that area and the parcel list for that area that will make up that TIF district. and it's referred to as the economic development plan. And so that's what we're discussing. And what we would post is essentially the approval resolutions in addition to the plan itself.
Sounds good.
All right. And anything else for the good of the order? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All right. I think we can do a second. Is there a second in there?
Deb Hutton, second.
Okay, great. I don't think we need to do a roll call. I think we can all just do all in favor, say aye.
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 All right, I don't think anyone's opposed. Thank you, Larry, for tonight's emceeing of the RDC, and we look forward to seeing everyone in a couple of weeks.